This episode of Poker Stories is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville, the largest poker room in the state of Florida with more than 60 poker tables and over 20 other table games. The popular card room is home to Best Bet Live, which streams cash game and tournament action on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Best Bet also has two other properties, one in Orange Park and a brand new facility that just opened in St. Augustine. This October and November, Best Bet Jacksonville will once again host the Card Player Poker Tour, which will feature a $3,000 buy-in main event starting November 11th. For more information, check out cardplayerpokertour.com or bestbetjacks.com, as well as bestbet_jacks on Twitter.
Hi everyone, this is two-time World Poker Tour champion Jonathan Little, and I want to tell you about my training site, pokercoaching.com. Poker coaching is the place to be if you want to increase your poker skills and learn to crush the games. It's the only place to quickly increase your win rate with active learning, so you can achieve your full poker potential without having to hire an expensive coach. Right now, podcast listeners can score a free membership by visiting pokercoaching.com/cardplayer and get access to top training tools like our interactive hand quizzes, our 7, 14, and 30-day challenges, and a roster of elite coaches such as Matt Affleck, James Romero, Burt DraftGanger-Stevens, Michael Acevedo, and dozens of others. Again, that's pokercoaching.com/cardplayer to get your free membership right now.
Poker Stories is an audio series that features casual interviews with some of the game's best players and personalities. Each episode highlights a well-known figure in the poker world and dives deep into their favorite tales, both on and off the felt.
Hello and welcome back to Poker Stories, a podcast brought to you by Card Player, the poker authority, and hosted by me, Julio Rodriguez. This is episode number 140, featuring Brad Ruben, who is a rising star in the poker world, having won 4 World Series of Poker bracelets during the last 3 years alone. The Florida native got his first gold bracelet in August of 2020 in the online series held during the pandemic, taking down the $1,500 pot limit Omaha event for nearly $250,000. At the next year's online series in the summer, he won yet another PLO event for his second bracelet. Then at the live series in October, he added a title in the $1,500 razz event. Finally, this summer, Brad kept his streak alive by winning the $1,500 Dealer's Choice event for his 4th bracelet overall. As a result, the 36-year-old now leads the decade, so to speak, having won the most bracelets since 2020. But as good as his last few years have been, Brad has had to work hard to get back to that point after working through a very tragic and extremely traumatic accident that he experienced just 5 years ago. You'll hear more about that in the interview, as well as the charity he is supporting now and during his last bracelet run, the Shields and Stripes organization, which helps first responders who are suffering from PTSD and other mental health issues. We did this recording about a month ago, right after Brad had just finished 4th in the WSOP Circuit Choctaw main event. Anyway, that's enough intro. Here is my conversation with Brad Ruben. I am here with Brad Ruben. Brad, how you doing?
Hey Julio, I'm great. How are you?
Great. I'm sure you're doing better. You are fresh off of a final table appearance at the WSOP Circuit event at Choctaw. So this is great timing. You know, they always say this podcast is good luck. How you liking it out there in Oklahoma?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I saw that a couple of your guests went on to have some big scores, so I guess you do bring the run good, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got some good things coming your way.
But so this is my first time checking out Choctaw. I've heard good things from friends, and it just worked out with my schedule where I was able to come out here. And we were kind of talking before we started this podcast, but I was kind of expecting this to be like a basic, Indian reservation casino, maybe not too big, not too small, maybe a little bit smoky, but it actually turned out to be an amazing resort. It kind of has a feel like a Vegas feel / maybe even like an island casino type feel, because they have a new pool here, they have new amenities, they have like a whole new wing with a couple new towers of hotel rooms. So I mean, I'm loving it.
Yeah, well, you needed a relaxing trip at least after that long summer, right?
Yeah, for sure. The series is such a grind. I love it. I love the competition, but it is a grind, and I'm sure we'll touch on this, but my performance is really tied to like my recovery, how I'm feeling in the moment. And towards the end of the series, the last couple of weeks, I was struggling, sleeping full nights, and like my performance really waned off towards the end. I started off really strong, but I'm a big believer in recovery and mental game and all that stuff. But yeah, so this trip, like it's I feel completely fresh, and I have the final table fourth place result, which I'm very proud of, and it's really directly tied to like the fact that I feel like refreshed and new trip after like a week or so of just relaxing. So yeah.
Yeah, $86,000 in your pocket, which is nice. Could have been a little more. You lost a flip there at the end to the eventual winner.
Yeah, you know what? Here's what I'll say. Well, there's two hands before that. I got an ace queen against ace 10 against the eventual winner, and the flop came ace high, and then he spiked to 10. And then I raised with ace king, the button flats. This is five-handed. Then the small blind ships it for like 14 bigs with 10-9 suited. I call. The flop is ace 10 deuce, and then the turn is a 10. So I know no one likes to hear bad beat stories, but here's what I'll say about this. I have also run really good in bracelet events, so I can't really complain about this. Things balance out. But I mean, I've been to 7 WSOP final tables, I think maybe 9 unofficial ones, and I've won 4 of them. So I can't really complain about like the final table.
Yeah, exactly. The other side of the coin, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is this side of it, and it still feels good because I'm proud of my performance. I'm proud of how deep I ran, and obviously I won a couple flips to get there in the first place, so I can't really complain.
Yeah, well, congrats to Danny Marks, for your circuit win out there at Choctaw.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got the gold. Let's, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit when we get to your WSOP success. But in this show, we go back to the beginning.
Yes, sir.
Were you raised in Hernando, Florida?
I was raised in Miami up until I was 10 years old, and then
that's what I'm saying. I hear it.
You hear the
your
Miami
voice.
You hear a little bit of the Latino.
Same thing. I was 9 when I moved out of Miami.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, my mom said this is too dangerous. We're moving to Davie.
Oh my God. You know what? It's funny because in our case it was my dad, and we moved a little bit further north than you. Davie's chill, and that's a bit country, but we moved deep into the country of Florida, in Hernando with Citrus County. And it was a huge shift. I mean, I didn't really know it at the time. I was 10 years old, but it was obviously a lot safer, very, very country feel, very homey. You knew all your neighbors. It was a nice hometown feel, but it was a big shift. And I looking back on it, I appreciate like the decision by my dad and my mom to do that, because it would have been, rough probably growing up in the streets of Miami.
Yeah. I had a situation where one of my teachers was shot near me. So that was the catalyst. My mom was like, "Okay, we got to move out of Dade County."
Yeah, for sure. So yeah.
But Hernando's like farm country, right? Because I remember I used to like see signs for it on my way to college. Which we'll talk about later. Right. But like it was never nearby. You had to like get off the highway and then drive.
I have to say this story about it. You're mentioning signs. So there's a sign in our county that you'll see it like every time leaving. It says "Eternity in hell is a long time." So that shows.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, very conservative town, very very Christian. Farm, lots of land, but obviously like a big shift from Miami, and yeah. So we're also known for in that county, Citrus County. We're known for manatees. We have Homosassa Springs, and the manatees go there. and you can swim near them. So it's really a beautiful place. We have warm springs, a lot of nature. I always tell people, like, my senior year, our class color was camouflage. So that also, yeah, that was our color. And that paints like a nice picture of that. And but I got to say, that growing up there, going to middle school and high school there, that didn't really take out like the international Miami person in me, because I ended up studying, and we'll get into it, but I ended up studying international business, and I ended up going back to Miami because I just had to go back to that, that international feel. I wasn't really a country boy.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, and look, Hernando, there's still what, 45 minutes from the beach?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't quite call it a beach. Like it's there's like a nuclear power plant nearby, so it's not the safest place to be, but yeah, like it's better to do the 2.5 hour drive to the other coast to go to Daytona. Like that's a nicer beach over there. But in our county, you'd go to the river. You'd go to the springs, and that's what you would enjoy. You float down the river. I'm sure you did that in Gainesville, but that's yeah. You kind of avoided the beach where we're in our county.
Okay, so what were you getting into as a youngin? We're about the same age. You're born 86, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were you getting into? I mean, were you roping cattle or?
It's funny. Similar, actually. Me and my group of buddies, we were kind of like the nerdy group. We'd play video games and stuff like that, but we'd also kind of play pranks. We did a couple of the putting porta potties in some friends, driveways. Their parents like hated us. We did some of the street sign stealing. Another favorite of mine was going to Walmart, and like we would do like scavenger hunts in Walmart because there's nothing else to do. Walmart was like the big thing in town, right? So you kind of had to go there and work with what you had,
Club Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. So but it was fun, it was doing those things are definitely better than what might have happened in Miami,
Yeah.
So I was definitely, I would say I was more on the sheltered side of things, and very blessed to come from like an upper middle class and live in like the nice part of the town, stuff like that. So yeah, it was a very great upbringing.
Well, I got to say, you either had good grades or you were connected because you went to Florida, which is getting increasingly harder to get into.
Yeah, it is.
That is my alma mater, and I talk about it frequently.
Go Gators! Hell yeah!
Go Gators! Yeah, we had overlap there because let's see, I graduated in 2002. No, I'm sorry. What I'm talking about that from high school in 2002.
Damn, you're a child genius. You're like 14.
That was my high school graduation. Yeah, I graduated in 2006. So
yeah, so we had some overlap. I started in 2004. I graduated high school 2004. So I was in Gainesville from 2004 to 2008, and then I had a year where I took a victory lap, and then I went back and I did my master's in 2009 and 2010. But yeah, I was very spoiled because I was like, that was the Tebow years. We won.
Yes.
Yeah, two football and one basketball title. Joe.
Yeah, and even baseball was making deep runs every year.
Yeah, so I was spoiled. Safe to say that now I'm like, the last 10 years have been rough, and I'm like, what's going on? All I knew was titles. But so it was definitely a good time to be there. But yeah, I school always came naturally to me. I was I got really good grades. I scored well on my SATs. I actually got into UF honors. So I lived in the honors dorm for a year.
Hume.
Yes, Hume, exactly. But you know what? I got humbled really quickly because I took an honors physics class. I was like, man, I got this. I'm smart. I could do it. And then I failed it miserably. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this, because I started pre-med, and I was like, maybe this track isn't for me. So I
Same.
Yeah. Really? That's funny.
Same.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I can compete with these, all these students that are just so into it. And it I wasn't as into it as they were. I mean, my dad's a doc and his dad's a doc, so I kind of I was doing it kind of because of that.
Oh,
Not-
you had a chance at least. I mean,
yeah.
I couldn't even get past that first chemistry weed out class.
I mean, yeah, like so yeah, it was tough those first science classes, but I decided to go into business and Spanish. And and that also, gave me a lot of free time to play cards online and some live and obviously just to have fun to tailgate. You know the Gator life.
Yes, well, I want to ask about that specifically, but who was your first introduction to poker?
Okay, so this was high school, and it was, kind of the basic story of most people, where you see Moneymaker on TV, you see him, an accountant from the middle of nowhere, winning a couple million, and hey, I'm from the middle of nowhere, so so that was cool to see that, and then it just kind of happened where, I was maybe 16, 17 at the time, and would start to play with friends, home games, and I just kind of like got got pulled into it. I just like naturally gravitated to it because, like I said before, I was kind of into video games, into strategy games, board games too. So this was just like such a natural shift for me to just really love this game and get into it. And I just really enjoyed playing, the small $5, $10 games with friends, and also some quarter games with other friends, where like it was kind of like more of like a dealer's choice. Like we would play baseball, which is stud, where threes and nines are wild, and we would even invent games. Like there was one game called Tahoe that we invented that was like PLO, where you could use 3 or 4 cards in your hand. So I really, like, early on in my poker career, I really learned to appreciate, not only Hold'em, but all the games. And I loved, playing these other oddball games and kind of coming up with new variations. So that was kind of ingrained in me early.
Yeah, that's crazy that you got to see those other games right away, because everyone was Hold'em back then. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can see it in your results. I mean, I think your first 12 results are all PLO or something like that.
Yeah. So I'm sure we'll get into that more, but I, obviously early on it was Hold'em, playing online Hold'em tournaments, and I'll remember actually in Hume Hall I played like a $10 tournament. I won like 800, so I was like on top of the world. But so early on it was Hold'em, but I was always interested in just like the variety the poker could offer. So, when I eventually made a move down to Miami, I like early in my career, I decided to focus on PLO. And because, also I kind of got a feel for Hold'em players. I'm like, man, these guys know some stuff that I don't know. They they had a lot more experience than me too. So I just decided that I would just become like a PLO specialist early, because I wanted to get ahead of the curve in that game, and I could see it was like kind of in the beginnings of the PLO, kind of explosion that it is today. So I decided, that was back in 2012, a couple years after graduating, that I decided that I would focus on PLO. But yeah, that was also a year after, I was in financial sales for a year in Miami, which I'm sure we'll discuss. But basically, yeah, like I never really got really pulled super deeply into Hold'em. I obviously played it a lot online, but I would say that my poker career was kind of built on PLO.
Yeah. Okay, well, so you're playing in Gainesville. What are you playing? Just online? Did you ever play Lions game?
Yeah, well, I guess not. No, I didn't. I did go to the track in Ocala. They had like a little
Oh yeah,
Ayala. Yeah, I went there a couple times.
in Jasper.
Yeah. Yeah, that small room, but I played there a couple times, but it was mostly online that I was playing in Gainesville. But I also, I was taught by my mom to take school really seriously, and I appreciate that. So I was also making sure that I got good grades in school. I always thought that, GPA was important. So it was like a mix, but like whenever I played poker, I tended to do well, and I was able to afford, like, I went on a international trip my sophomore year, so I was able to pay for that. And so I would say that I had a good like balanced life where I was, school, poker, and partying. And
what did you end up getting your master's in?
I got it in international business. And yeah, because so my mom is Venezuelan, so and Italian, so she comes from the international world, like the more she always taught me and my two brothers just to appreciate every culture. So I'm very grateful for that. And she taught me Spanish when I was a kid. That was my first language. So I like I was always into just I felt like international business was a good match for me, and I ended up studying abroad in Spain, in France, and in Italy. And in Italy was where I did my international business like exchange in Milan and Bocconi. And
Man,
yeah,
you're getting around even as a student.
yeah, and I must say, like poker really helped pay the way. Like so, I was there, and I remember going to like San Remo for a little bit, and I remember playing some scoop events, having a couple final tables where I won like 20, 30 grand, which that's all you need as a student, 20 grand in one
Mm-hmm.
semester. And you're loving life, you're happy buying the boxed wine, you're happy buying the natty lights, so you're not really spending much. But I was able to afford, my foreign exchange trip, all the rooming and board and studies, and also able to afford some other extra trips in between. So
But it sounds like you weren't winning enough to consider it as a career just yet.
right, right, and again, like from my parents, it was like school first.
Mm-hmm.
It never really was a consideration for me because I wanted to get my degrees first and foremost. And like for me, poker was like something that was like a cool hobby that made me money and gave me the opportunity to see more of the world at a young age. Um,
So you
that-
graduate, and what's the plan then? What do you do?
yeah, so okay, so '08 I graduated undergrad and I ended up doing a year. I actually went down to Delray, and I wanted to focus on playing mainly online, and I actually won a scoop event that year, PLO 8 for like 60,000. My girlfriend at the time was like, "What the hell, 60,000? That's more than I make in a year." And I was like, "Yeah, it's crazy." But still, like I was still like, yeah. After that year, I was like, you know what? I want to go back and get my master's. Just in case, just in case poker didn't work out, I had that to fall back on. So I went back to UF, did my master's, did Italy for 6 months, and then after that, I went back to Miami and I was in financial sales for a year. But obviously still playing poker on the side because how the live action is in South Florida. And then after I was
Well,
like, you know what?
you caught the right beginning of it when it like the
Yeah.
floodgates opened. I had already moved to Vegas by that point,
Oh,
so
really?
I was stuck with like the $100 cap.
Max. Yeah, I didn't even experience that. Like I heard stories. I'm like, damn, that sucks. But yeah, I was really in the beginnings of it, and then I decided, after a year, I made like 70 grand in the sales job. It was fun. I learned some stuff, but I wasn't really passionate about it. And I'm like, I always enjoyed to play, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this out. I'm gonna go pro. I had like tracked my results, and I saw that my hourly like was like 2.5 times the other job. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and I never looked back. Since 2012, I've been a pro.
So what were your first steps as a pro? Like hit the circuit, cash games, or move somewhere where.
I was kind of a blend, like there's in South Florida, there's so many casinos, there's so many tournaments, so it was kind of a blend of kind of hopping between hold'em tournaments, PLO tournaments and PLO cash. But I would say my main thing was PLO cash. Like I remember my first month being, well, maybe it was my second or third month being pro. I was playing like Mardi Gras PLO like 5-5, and I made like 40,000. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
yeah, I'm like, okay, I made the right call here.
Oh my God. I mean, I knew Florida games were good for a long time, but man.
Yeah, so they were obviously extremely soft. I mean, this is 2013, in a small casino in South Florida, Mardi Gras. Like that's kind of a dump for lack of a better word. But they had great PLO games, and I mean, I was just blessed with my poker knowledge up until then. I just, other people really didn't have a chance against me. Like not trying to sound cocky, but I always had a really good feel for the game, and could always just pick up on things quickly. And
No, especially with PLO, I believe it. So let me ask you about this game because every year, and this is tournaments, but every year at the series, I see the same 12 guys just crushing these PLO tournaments, getting to final table after final table. And I watch them, Jason Merciers of the world, Dash Dudley does it, Tommy Lee, Sean Deep. These guys, they're doing something.
And the Finns, you don't forget the Finns and the Swedes. Like those guys are PLO.
Of course. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Robert Cohen, even the Brit.
Yeah, he's very good. Yeah.
So there's something happening that the general player, the casual PLO player, is not doing. Yeah. Where you guys are just printing money. Is it just a matter of the fact that their math is not as fundamentally sound as yours in these PLO spots?
First of all, I can't say that I'm really on that level yet. Because they have some
got a ton of PLO results.
Yeah, I do, but they have results in 25Ks, 10Ks, and hopefully I'll get there. But I'm not quite on that level. I would say that in South Florida was so soft, and I was one of the better ones down there. But we're talking about like on the world level. The Finnish players, that contingent, they're just sick. They've been playing PLO since it seems like since they were babies, and yeah, the Deebs of the world and the Cohens and Dash Dudley. I would say that PLO, I think it might be a little bit underrated as like a feel game too, where there's a lot of spots where you just kind of know that you can get someone off a hand, and I think that when I'm really like plugged in the game, I just know when to apply pressure, and especially in tournaments where you can leverage stacks, like, this applies also in cash games. It obviously depends on the player, where you feel like you maybe can apply pressure more to this player over this player, but I'm sure that the top PLO players, they just know exactly when, okay, this is when I'm gonna put max pressure on this guy because he just doesn't have a strong enough hand to call,
Right. You could definitely see it. It's like these situations where they almost trap players into thinking they're playing a normal hand, and then all of a sudden they're on the turn, and they realize they're in a spot where they can't call, and the other guy's just printing money. It's just printing,
Really, I do feel, obviously you have to know the math, you have to be really strong at that, but I do feel like PLO is a game of like, okay, this card on the turn, it helps my range more, and my opponent knows it, and so I could just bet here, even though I don't have anything, and I know that my bet will get through. I feel like there's a lot of spots like that to come up in the game, and obviously you have the basic spots where you have a wrap and a pair, and you're dominating just a bare wrap, stuff like that. But I think that the best PLO players, they just have a really good feel of where they're at situationally in every hand against that specific opponent. Just really good feel for the game, and I think that's a big part of my game too. Is that I like when I'm at my best, I can really shift with the dynamics of the table well. Like I can just kind of feel how everyone is playing at a certain moment and just kind of plug into that, and I think that's a big part of PLO. So,
by the way, you were very modest, about your abilities. I just counted like 35 cashes in Omaha events on your resume. By the way.
Thanks, man. I mean, like I have, yeah. But I don't think that I'm at like a elite world class level. I mean, I think I'm at a top level, for sure. In the States, but some of these guys from Europe, from Finland, they've been playing PLO for decades, so they have a lot more experience than me. And also some guys and some Americans have played it online at very high stakes. I'm not like a high stakes PLO player. I'm medium stakes, like up to like 25, 50. But I don't play 200, 400 PLO, 500, 1,000. 25Ks, 50Ks. I have to sell.
I mean, I don't even consider that PLO. I just consider that, a test of will. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah. That's another thing. Like the top guys, like they're really cool under pressure. Like it doesn't get to them, and they know exactly when to apply it. I'm still learning that. Like I'm getting good at it, but I'm still learning like how big of a role that plays is just applying pressure at the right moment, because everyone feels it, man. Like high stakes. It's everyone, the pressure gets to everyone. It's just that some people, they just know how to really remain cool. And I'm not there yet, but I'm hopefully getting there.
So let's see. I got one of your first big runs at the series was in the main event.
Yeah. That was the
2013.
2013, right? Yeah. And actually, that was like my first. I think even my only like featured table. It was a secondary table, and I had who was on it? Ike was on it. Annette Oberstad was on it. So there's some big names there, but yeah, I mean it was cool at the time. I got like 500th, but the funny thing about that is that I've played the main event every year since then, except for maybe one or two, and I've progressively finished worse every year. Like literally, like day 4, then day 3, then day 3.5, and then 2, and then it's pretty funny. So last year I level 4 day 1 I busted. So you know what I did this year? I registered level 5 of day 1 because I was like, I'm gonna break this streak. Screw this streak.
There you go.
So I registered day 5. So I was like free rolling, and I actually ended up I busted this year like 200 for the money, but it was a cooler. It was kings against aces, small blind, big blind. So I played this year the main very well, and but yeah, that was a very cool run back in 2013, and yeah,
Gave you a taste for it, but it doesn't seem like you started to get close until 2017, right?
Yeah, 2017. Remind me, what was that score?
That was the $1,500 razz. You finished third for 55,000.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Okay. And I do remember that maybe it was also that year. I think I got 7th in a 3K PLO. So I was inching my way. I was getting there, and yeah. So Raz, that was the first Raz tournament I ever played.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean I had played it only like a couple times before then with like I helped run a private game back in South Florida at Dania Hialeah, and we played Raz a little bit, like 3-4 handed, just like before the game started. So that was literally the first Raz tournament I played, maybe second, other than like a $200 one or whatever. But and
I remember playing in Dania Hialeah with Noah Carbone was our run of the room.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think he still does. But yeah, that was when they built that room. It was like they built it for poker, and I was like, wow. It was like the first poker room that looked like a poker room, and then everything came after it.
Yeah, and I'll touch on that a little bit more. But yeah, so that Raz run, what I noticed about the game? I noticed that like half the table was on tilt, like before it even started, and then like 90% of the table was on tilt. Just like, there's so many opportunities for the game to piss you off, like to catch a high card, catch a pair, whatever. But like for me, it was brand new. So like I just went into it like a kid, like just with a lot of newness around me, just a lot of awe, because I was like, damn, like this is a fun game, like, and just seeing the cards come out, seeing like just card removal, having like and like I said before, things kind of came naturally to me, so I kind of recognized really quickly that like having like a hand like ace 2-3 wasn't as strong as having like 4, 5, 6 with a couple 4s and 5s out there, right? Like removing the opportunity for you to pair up. So like I picked up on these things pretty quickly, and I picked up on stealing. I had heard from I had a couple buddies of mine who encouraged me to try it because they saw my poker mind, like my friend Adam Owen and like Cal Anderson, like they kind of encouraged me. Yeah,
just those two, geniuses.
Yeah, they encouraged me to check it out, and yeah, like I do think that the newness of it for me was an advantage, because I was never tilted the whole way. I just like really enjoyed it, and I was just always in the moment, and yeah, and obviously I ran good to get there, but I also won't forget, like, final 2 tables, there was a hand when I had like an 8 showing and like a 5-4 in the hole, and someone was all in, and Phil Hellmuth was in the hand too. We both didn't catch great, but I kept betting. I just thought that I could get him off. I bet 4th, 5th, and he folded 5th, and then when he saw my hand, he kind of stood up. He did this whole Phil Hellmuth thing because I guess he had whatever we had the same kind of hand. I had like 8-5 in the hole with a 4, and then he maybe had whatever, maybe a 3. I don't know. It was basically the equities were the same, but I got him off of it, and I ended up winning that hand, and he got up. So I got like the Phil Hellmuth tantrum from that event, which is cool because I kind of feel like that's like a bucket list thing for every poker player.
Yeah, rite of passage.
Yeah, exactly. But
do you know who I am?
Yeah, and I was like, I think I told him, like, I'm like, that stuff won't work on me, Phil, or I don't know, but that was fun, and I made, I got 3rd. I think like the 2 guys who beat me were ODB and I think Matt Grappenheim, who I have a lot of respect for both of them. They're both like really good mixed game players, but it was so like they definitely outclassed me 3-way.
That was actually real quick. That was Jason Gola and David Baker.
I'm sorry. I think.
Yeah, you did beat Grapes in the one you won.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, my bad. Yeah, so I kind of get them mixed up a little bit, but yeah. So that was fun, man, and that. So 2017. I guess that gave me my first taste in kind of like the stud variant games. And I mean, like, just naturally, I would gravitate to just like from my past in the dealer's choice games, I would just naturally gravitate to other games because I just loved just learning them, and then just I feel that the more games you play, the more you can kind of pick up something in one game that you can apply to another game, so that's kind of how my mind works, and I loved it. Like, so once I got my taste in razz, I'm like, all right, I got to play all the stud variants. I got to play horse, and oh, by the way, Omaha high-low was always like a strong part of my background. I don't think I mentioned that yet, but I won this scoop in PLO8, and then I played a lot of Big O cash in South Florida. So limit Omaha high-low was kind of came easy to me.
Yeah, that's in that's half the Omaha results for sure. Yeah. So at this point, in your career, are you strictly poker? I mean, because I know you were doing real estate, and like, when did you make the switch?
Yeah, so I had so I guess 2012 I went full time, but with my business degree, I was kind of also interested in other things as well, and I think in 2016ish I started to dive into Airbnb. I could kind of see that getting big, so what I ended up renting and then subletting like a couple houses, and then that kind of grew, and then my uncle got involved with me, and then a friend of his, and then I ended up opening a business and managing, like, we got it to like 15 properties that we like owned and leased, and so I did that like in 2016, 2017. It was good money, but it was, it wasn't full time, and I think my partners kind of knew that the poker was my main thing. Mm-hmm. So it was like a 2-year run where I learned, and like I always kind of pride myself in being like I guess versatile. Like, I didn't really want to just only do poker. So like that gave me an opportunity to learn a little bit in like about the real estate world, about investing, about about numbers, about accounting, about business in general. So that was a good experience. But yeah, I'm out of that now. But I do currently invest in a couple other businesses that have a pretty cool upside. Um, but but yeah, man, I never wanted poker to be my only thing. I wanted, like, I think like there's so much to life, and I wanted to get myself in as many things as I could like handle. Um,
Well, also you have a master's, so it'd be a shame to let all those years go to waste.
yeah, that too. But but yeah. So and here's another thing that kind of always kind of stuck with me about poker is, I mean, I love the game, I love the strategy, the psychology, the math. There's so many cool things about poker, but like one thing that always stuck with me, and it still does, is that it doesn't fulfill me. Like I don't feel like I give much back to the world at large because it's a zero sum game.
Hmm.
So that always kind of stuck with me in a way. And um, also I kind of get this from my mom. Like and she always felt from me that like, hey, poker, there was something missing there, and so she kind of she saw that in me, and kind of encouraged me to do other things. But obviously now she's very proud of me and all my results. But that's one thing about poker, is that I feel like I don't really give back enough. Also my dad being a doctor, he helps heal others, so that's kind of in me too, like that desire.
Right, that's a tough comparison, right? When your dad is like
Yeah,
actually healing the sick, and you're just like
yeah.
taking a degen's money.
Really, no, that did weigh on me. you know
Oh,
um
of course. But I saw that, with this most recent, we're fast forwarding a little bit. With this
sure.
most recent bracelet win, you had earmarked some money for charity, for a cause you were and you were supporting with like
Yeah,
a patch, right?
yes, that charity is called Shields and Stripes, and they help first responders, vets, and law enforcement come back from PTSD, from like the silent illnesses, from mental health issues, which there's a stigma around them, but I see them like just as big as physical injuries, like as there needs to be a process around the recovery. So one of my coaches told me about them because they knew that PTSD was something dear to me. So and they were familiar with like the treasurer of that charity. So I read about them. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are amazing. Like they help the heroes of communities like get back to being in their communities and help others. And it was very dear to me. And I have a personal experience around PTSD that I got to touch on it because it kind of
Well, I wanted to ask,
yeah.
specifically speaking, because obviously this is something that you care about.
Yes, yes, it's very dear to me. You know, and like so yeah, going to my incident, I caused a tragic car accident back in 2018 where someone else didn't make it, and that was extremely difficult on a lot of levels, and it was very isolating. I carried obviously a lot of guilt and shame around it. I questioned whether or not I was a good person. you know, and obviously, ultimately, I had a lot of help with therapists, with psychiatrists, with coaches, where I was able to process it and have some tools. And I do carry some responsibility in what happened, but I know that I'm not a bad person, and I didn't mean for something so tragic to happen. But it really weighed on me heavily. And I do feel like that adversity was integral to my current success, because I got to some very dark places psychologically
Mm.
that like really, if my parents weren't open to like bringing me back in and supporting me, I like if I didn't have such awesome parents, I think I would have probably ended up killing myself, because it was so hard, like, to live with that, with what happened, with that regret, with that shame. But they took me back in, and I I went to a local psychiatrist back in Hernando. His name is Dr. Grace. He's so great. He really helped me talk. He actually plays poker. So we were able to talk about a lot of things, and he really helped me learn a lot of tools, learn to process everything. And then he had a cognitive behavioral therapist. Her name is JC, and she was a godsend. She's very empathetic person. She had gone through some very serious traumas in her life too, so she spoke from a space of love and healing, and she taught me a lot. So I learned really great tools from those two. And then it was a long recovery, man. Like, I wasn't well for a good couple years.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what that was like.
It yeah. And I mean, I'm still, like, dealing with a little bit, but I'm very proud of my recovery since then. Like, so my cognitive behavioral therapist, my psychiatrist, and then I also hired some coaches because I wanted to get back into what I did best. I wanted to play again, and I just, like, I tried to play after the accident, but I was just, it was way too volatile. Like, I had some days where I was on my game, and other games where I was just completely out of it, just dumping money. And it made sense because I wasn't able to focus. I was thinking about other things. I was thinking about, why did this happen? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why couldn't I have done things differently? So it was impossible to really focus on the game. What do others think of me? And I mean, I lost a lot of friends, but also, like, I learned, I had a lot of close friends who stuck with me. But and I completely understand why, a lot of people, like, wouldn't want to talk to me anymore, because it was just a really big tragedy. But so all these things were running through my head, and I couldn't really play. But after I was really able to heal, like, back with my parents and with my psychiatrist, and my coaches, then I hired Elliot Rowe, who I had worked with before, and he's the preeminent hypnotherapist in the poker community. He works with Fedor Holtz. He works with Jason Kuhn, a lot of the top guys, and
Yeah, he's come up on this podcast a lot, done a lot of
yeah.
work for a lot of pros.
And he stuck with me throughout the whole idea. He was always encouraging, and so I hired him again. I had multiple sessions with him, and he helped me, really communicate with my subconscious, and really, revisit the trauma and process it in a different way. I hired him. I hired a couple other coaches. A friend of mine, Dion Jagru, who also plays, but he got into coaching a couple years prior, so he had some experience in that, and he helped me. And another buddy of his, Matt Ewing. So both those guys have worked with Chance Cornuth, who's also a friend of mine, and they're those three work together on a, like, just to coach poker players, and now they're two really good coaches. So I really had the right people around me, man. Like, if I didn't have all these pieces around me, I don't know where I would be. Like, I'm super blessed that I had the right people around me to, like, get me out of my really dark places, and to get me back to being able to perform at, I would even say, higher than I ever have. Like the adversity, I think, is integral to success. I mean, we've all had it in our own ways, but, like, so my, the things I had to overcome really have shaped me, and with my coaches, like, have brought me to another level, I would say, like, while I play.
I also imagine that coming out of that, you're probably going to get tunnel vision on a couple things, right? Like, you might even just dive into poker more than you've ever thought before.
No, you're right. Like, once I was recovered, I'm like, so poker could be something that I can kind of, just focus on, so I don't have to think about other things. So there was definitely that, and I was already good at it. So it was a blessing that poker was available, and you know, during the pandemic, it was big online, um, and I won my first bracelet online. That obviously was the beginnings of like okay, this is great. Like I kind of I'm back, like that, and not only what I say like I was back, but I was like on a higher level than I was before. Um,
Mhm.
and because like you said, kind of tunnel vision. Like when I got like the deeper and deeper that I get in tournaments now, like the more I'm able to focus. And I think a lot of it is because of like the adversity that I faced. Like I've been in very highly stressful situations, not only in poker but off the felt too. So I feel like the deeper I get in a tournament, the more I'm able to focus. Like and because you see some other guys obviously get nervous when like the money gets bigger. But for some reason I'm just blessed with the ability to just even focus more. Obviously I ran well. Like I remember in that was like I think it was a 1500 PLO.
Mhm.
I I I made a move with like ace king 10 10 7-handed against like a Finnish guy who was opening a lot. Um so he raised under the gun +1, and I 3-bet pot on the button with ace king 10 10, and he tanked, but he ended up putting me in with kings. It was a great call, and he's like a 58-59% favorite, but I binked the 10, and then yeah, and I think
It's
everyone.
just so funny that it's like he made this amazing call and he's still only like it's
Yeah, and he got
barely a
I
better than
got
a flip.
yeah, that's PLO,
Yeah.
but so that separated me from the pack, and then I was able to apply pressure. But again, like that's the variance of final tables. Like
Yeah.
if I don't bink that 10, I get seventh, which is 40K versus 220K. So that's a big
Well, yeah.
yeah.
$250,000 in your pocket and the WSOP gold bracelet, which I assume they mailed to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I give that to my parents. Uh
Okay.
yeah, and
You
yeah.
didn't you didn't you didn't wear it to the home games for a little while.
No, like I don't like to be like flashy or whatever. I don't really wear them. And yeah, but like I see like Scotty wear his bracelets, and the ones from like the late '90s are pretty cool, man. Like but not saying that these aren't cool, but like I don't really like to wear them. I don't like to show off. So I like to fly under the radar.
So 2021, in the summer, you win bracelet number two, also PLO, by the way. Two
Mhm.
PLO bracelets, and this guy says he's not a PLO player. Anyway, that's another 70 grand, another gold bracelet in your pocket.
Mhm.
Um, what are you thinking at this point? Just like,
Okay, so this one, I I earned this one. This one I'm more proud, even though it was like a third of the prize. Because I mean the final table had Ben Yu, it had Alex Foxen,
hmm
so these are superstars. And I remember making a couple good moves on Ben Yu, and then making some good value bets on Foxen. So I was like, okay, like I'm really plugged in. I'm seeing this game on these guys' levels, which these are they're top tournament pros they're super crushers. So I'm like, okay, and I really felt like I earned this one. Like I felt like I outplayed the final table, and my heads up opponent is also a very good online player. I think he won 2021 Player of the Year online. So I bet
yeah, Mike
Mike
Holtz.
Holtz, yeah, Mike Holtz, yeah, he's a good guy. And so that one I really earned. I felt like I was the best player at that table. But again, I was, very focused. I was very plugged in, and just made the right moves at the right time on that one.
At
Um,
this point, are you mad you still haven't won a live one?
I definitely had those thoughts. I'm like, so am I just like an online player? I am. Am I not able to be back on the live streets? But
But yeah, a few months later.
yeah, but yeah, a few months later, I played the razz for the second time and I won it. Which is
Wait, that was your second time playing?
Yeah, it was the second time I played razz and I won it. Like it was so sick, and I ended up playing the 10K razz that year, and I got ninth. So 3 razz tournaments, 3 final tables, the third, the first, and the ninth. I didn't continue the streak this year. I played the 10K razz. I did not cash, so that streak is over. But still, it's pretty sick. So I mean, that's obviously giving me feedback that like I'm pretty good at these mixed games. I got 12th in the 10K horse this year. And again, like I would say that there's so many people out there that have so much more experience than me in these games. Well, not PLO, but the mixed games. But I do think that newness has an advantage. Like just having the attitude of a child, playing with a new toy. Like I feel like that was an advantage for me. And I want to like kind of maintain that edge. It's hard. That's like a mental hack that I'm going to continue to work on. But like just kind of having that newness all the time, I feel like really benefited me. And I've also recently gotten into meditation and hypnotherapy, like from Elliot, but I've gotten into it on my own, and that stuff really helps. Like it really has helped me kind of rewire like my subconscious and like overcome like my past challenges, and that has really helped me, like I feel like, gain an edge as well.
Now, when you say hypnotherapy, do you
Mhm.
mean like you're actually hypnotized?
So it's like a light trance-like state. It's basically it's a theta brainwave state, which is slower than the active alpha and beta state. So you're not like you're going to theta, and if you really get hypnotized, you can go into delta. But really, like the magic can happen in a theta brainwave state, and so you're just really relaxed, and you're communicating with the hypnotherapist like on the subconscious level. So like a good hypnotherapist can really take you to some stuff in your past, some childhood stuff even, and can kind of talk to you on like a deep level where you're able to maybe communicate with like your inner child and like kind of work on some things, like even some like repressed memories might come up, because like our subconscious, our minds are trying to protect us. So there might be some like repressed memories that kind of come up. So then when you're able to bring it to the forefront and then communicate like from an adult perspective, you can kind of heal in a way. Yeah, so like I've really gotten passionate about this stuff, and I want to learn more about it and eventually become a coach around this stuff, because I do think that this is what really healed me, like even to a bigger degree than psychiatry, than cognitive behavioral therapy. But like doing this work on a really deep level is really what has helped me heal.
All right, well, that one was live. You did win a
Yes.
live bracelet finally.
Yes.
And it's number 3. So at this point,
Yeah.
are you thinking, holy crap, I'm gonna get to 17 and pass Helmuth?
I mean, like it's sick. It's one thing that I'm very proud of is that I'm leading the decade, the 2020s. I'm leading the decade in bracelets. And if you look at the Wikipedia, you look at previous decade winners. You have Stu Unger, you have Phil Ivey, you have Phil Hellmuth. So, and then you have Ruben. 2020s Brad Ruben. So I'm like that inspires me. I want to hold the lead for the decade. I definitely want to lead this decade in bracelets. I think it's gonna take 7, 8, or 9 to get there, because there's more available, there's more online. But that's definitely a goal of mine. I want to maintain the lead. But it's been surreal. Like it's such a blessing. I kind of think that like there's some divine stuff going through me as well, just because I've obviously ran really good and been very lucky, with my skill. But yeah, man, I'm definitely inspired to maintain my lead.
This year, you got number 4 in the Dealer's Choice event.
Yes.
The guy you beat heads up, Jaspal Brar. Right.
Jaswinder Lilly.
Oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of the other guy who won the bracelet. Okay, Jaswinder Lally. So Jaswinder Lally won the event last year.
Yes.
And then comes back, gets heads up with you, doesn't realize who you are, right? He doesn't know you're a 3-time winner. You crush him in his face. You say, "No, thank you, Jaswinder." And I mean, what's your strategy in an event like that, dealer's choice, where I mean, I'm assuming you're playing a lot of Omaha games, or maybe it's just you find the weak spot at the table and punish, or
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, I want to say with Jazz Winter, he's a super, super nice guy, and he's very, very good at all the games. And he's like, super, like he was telling me that he only plays like 2 tournaments a year, and he either wins them or gets second. So I'm like, damn, you should play more.
so sick.
But so like with him going back to like the exploiting, like I picked heads up against him, and I had never picked it because he's an older gentleman and he's not going to study heads up hold'em. So I was able to just kind of punish him heads up, and he picked PLO 8, which is like my second or third best game, and he even made me the offer. He's like, "Do you want to play these 2 games back to back?" And I'm like, "Sure." Yeah, let's do that. But no, super nice guy. But yeah, so I like throughout the tournament, like I did run good. I had pretty good seat draws. Like I remember like three tables up, there was another table that had Friedman, who was a 3-time dealer's choice champ, and had like Ben Yu on that. Like 6 out of the 7 players were really, really tough. So I ran good with good seat draws. But I did tend to pick PLO a lot. I felt like I had a big edge on mixed game players in PLO, and I raised a lot of like pretty much 80% of hands when I picked it. But I also, I picked stuff like limit Omaha high, like when the blinds were shorter stacked, because that's a hard game to play when you're short stacked. It's like you can kind of punish the blinds in that variant. And I picked Big O a lot because I felt like a lot of people made mistakes. And then, I was able, a lot of the good mixed game players like Marco Johnson, those guys, they would tend to pick Badusi, Badesi, but I had enough experience in that where I was able to hold my own and not make any big mistakes. So I feel that, out of the 20 games, I feel like I'm like B plus in a lot of them. And then I'm like, A plus in the PLO, Big O, PLO 8s. So like for me, like I really like the mixes that have some big bet in them. Like I like the big bet mix because I feel like I can hold my own in all the limit games, and then I can kind of punish in the big bet ones.
Yeah. I was talking to Adam Friedman about the strategy of that tournament.
Right.
And he said there's like, it's almost like sharks are like at a feeding frenzy where early on in a tournament, if you spot one guy at the table who just doesn't understand a game, everyone at the table will just call that game until that guy is out.
No, totally. That's very, very true. I mean, you spot it. You're like, okay, this guy's just going to punt it in this game. And I mean, it goes back to back same game. Like, all right, like let's leave that plaque out there. Let's keep playing.
Yeah. That guy's like, man, why do they keep picking this?
Yeah. And then that guy goes home and like, maybe I should learn that game,
Mm-hmm.
next time. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously better than me. He's won 3 like that. His run in those 3 tenkies is really sick. And but yeah, like it's a very, and that's by far my proudest bracelet, because there's so much strategy to having 20 games available to pick, and I loved it.
So where are the 4 bracelets? You said one is with your parents. Are they all there?
Yeah, so 1 is with them, 2 is with me, and the fourth, well, actually the razz one, the third one that I won, I gave that to my ex, and I'm actually happy that she has it because so I met her in Vegas. I moved to Vegas a year ago. I met her maybe like 2 or 3 months in, and it was a great relationship. It lasted like 4 months, and she was there with me for that win. She was very supportive, and I still was dealing with like some worthiness issues. Like I'm like, at that time I was like a 2-time, then a 3-time champ, and I'm like, do I really deserve this? Like I was still kind of questioning. Like I had made some mistakes with that money, like in the crypto streets, like, so I was like kind of beating myself up even more. Like, man, why are you doing this to yourself? Why, you're so successful in poker. Why are you dumping in crypto? So, and again, like going back to hypnotherapy, I kind of learned that I had some like self-worth, self-love issues, and I was kind of shooting myself in the foot, So my ex, like she loved me despite like my struggles, and so was very supportive of me while we were together, and so I ended up giving her that bracelet, and I'm very happy that I did. I don't regret it. But even with her, I ultimately kind of drove her away because like I didn't think I was worthy of that love. Because again, I still had some self-love. Like I hadn't really gotten so her leaving me is really what opened my eyes to like, man, what am I doing? Like there's something about myself that I don't love at a deep level, like still, like so because like I really did love her, and I pushed her away just because I didn't feel like, internally I didn't feel worthy of that type of a relationship, of that type of a love. So that is really what ultimately inspired me to do this work with hypno, with meditating, and to really get to the core of, okay, why do I not like love myself on a deep level? What is going on here? Obviously like causing such a tragedy played a big role, but there was also some childhood things where I like, kind of questioned myself. Like I had like a fear of failure from like a very early age. My mom told me that when I was like 6 years old, like I didn't want to, even though I was like a good swimmer, I didn't want to compete in a competition because I was afraid I would lose. She always tells me that story. So I had like a fear of failure. I kind of self-doubt stuff. And I finally realized, like when I drove my ex away, I'm like, what is going on? I have to really figure out what is preventing me from really loving myself and feeling worthy of my success at a deep level. So that, so I dove deeper into hypno. I dove deeper like into yoga, into Kundalini yoga, which is like a more meditative yoga. I'm really into that. And I feel like that's also given me an edge. Like I've learned some really cool like mantras around really focusing and being present, and like eliminating ego. I've learned some cool kriyas around that, and that has, I think, helped me maintain my edge deep in tournaments, where I would do some meditations, I would do some hypno, MP3s. So yeah, like,
Well,
what's up?
Yeah, in a way, the absence of the bracelet will now serve as a reminder moving forward, right?
Yeah.
That you're worthy.
Yeah, no, and I still have a little bit to go, but I do feel like I'm very proud to say, like today I'm very I'm worthy of like my success, and a big reason why is like I kind of can see, like we are all the author of our own lives, right? And I can kind of see like the future for me is, I'm working with Matt Stout. I'm in communication with him. He runs charity poker tournaments, right?
Yep.
I'm in communication with him about running a charity poker tournament that will raise funds for Shields and Stripes, will raise awareness, raise money for them because they do really great things. So I really feel worthy for all my success because I feel like all of my past will serve as inspiration and motivation for me to create some really like helpful things for others. Like all of the pain that I have felt, I want to shape it and transform it into healing others, helping others. Like again, coming from the line from my dad, I like that healing desire in me is manifesting, and I'm going to create that, and I'm very inspired to create that. And here's one more thing that I want to touch on. I feel like poker, like there's so many bright people in this world, so many smart people in the world, and we suffered like an incident, towards the end of the series that where there was like a glass shattering in Vegas, but 6 casinos. You obviously know about that. And there's some people that say like, well, how could you overreact? But they don't really know like how it was. Like I was in the ballroom.
Crazy. It's
It was
crazy.
insane.
People don't get it.
Yeah, I will never forget looking up and I see literally hundreds of poker players like really pale. I mean, we're already pale because we're inside all the time, but they were like super pale, running towards me. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? I immediately get up and I start running because like the first thing that comes to mind is survivor mode. Is like there might be a shooter in the ballroom. That's like the first thing that can. And I'm like, okay, I got to duck, I got to run. I don't want to be the guy who's sitting and is open to getting shot. So I got out of there, but anyways, like that's gonna be a lingering incident in other people who haven't been in those situations. Like I have been in some really traumatic situations, so I was able to kind of like quickly kind of process it and be like, okay, what's really going on here, but not only that, but also like there's kind of like a little bit of an undercurrent in this country with, shootings, with PTSD. There's so many like unfortunate incidents that happen seemingly every week. So like, and
That's what I'm saying. People don't realize, like, they're like, oh, everyone overreacted because it ended up being rocks being thrown. But there's a reason why we overreacted.
There's a reason. There's like that possibility of shootings that happens way too much in this country. And like people are kind of on edge. So, and I feel like the poker community has an opportunity. Like we can be kind of leaders in because there's so many smart people. Again, we can be leaders in maybe in raising awareness, raising funds. Here's another funny thing about poker is we poker players all have experience in dealing with trauma, right? And like bad beats, making it deep and then losing kings against aces. We all have those stories. So like poker players are naturally very self-aware and capable of overcoming trauma. So like I'm hoping to like kind of lead this charge where showing the poker can be something to raise money, raise awareness, to even heal others. When you're playing with others, you're building camaraderie, you're networking. There's a little bit of aggression in poker, obviously. So someone who's been through trauma, like they can go and play a poker tournament and maybe be exposed to aggression in a safe way. Like whether it's a woman,
get it out safely,
yeah. Whether it's a woman who's been through assault, or a man who's been through an accident, whatever it might be. Like this is actually what my psychiatrist, my friend Dr. Grace, told me, and he has this theory, and I would agree with him. So I kind of like challenge the poker community to maybe be like a leader in this battle against PTSD. And if anyone wants to kind of like join me in creating like this charity, like please, find me on Twitter or reach out to my email, bradleyruben@gmail.com. But I'm in communication with Matt Stout and with the CEO of this charity, Shields and Stripes, who also he has an amazing story around loss as well. So I feel like my picture is coming clearly, like my future, and I'm really, so this is why I'm also feeling very worthy for the success, because I'm gonna spin it into something like positive and an opportunity maybe to heal within the poker community, and I think that we have that before us. Like we have that power, really.
That's great. I think that's great. Shout out to Matt Stout and the Charity Series of Poker.
Mm-hmm.
They do great work over there. Matt's really created something amazing.
Yes.
And this whole stampede on the strip thing is bizarre. I don't know about you, but I still can't believe the lack of news coverage. I was just talking to Dan Zach about this. There is nobody talking about this. The fact that it's really half a dozen casinos can empty out because something happened a mile away.
Really but my theory is this: it's casinos don't want that news out there, because if people hear that there's a glass shattering, or maybe there was I've heard that there was actually like someone firing a gun. I don't know, but casinos really, I don't think they really want that this news out there, because it's going to de-incentivize people from going out and visiting them and losing.
I guess so, but man,
kind of my
it was so big. It was so big.
And here's another thing, like like that type of a panic that quickly spreads. Like there's pedestrians or stampedes. Like people can really get hurt. Like there's issues with just out of, because like, so I don't know. Like it really is.
There were people who had concussions and there were poker players who messed their stuff up. Dan Negreanu messed up his hand.
Yeah, I wish that I kind of stayed back and helped people out more, but I unfortunately I was kind of looking out for myself a little bit. But you and
99.9% of everybody else, man.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was bizarre. But what I take from it is that really, like, there is a there's kind of like a little bit of people are on edge, and I do think that trauma is something that's like a common thread in a lot of people have just moderate trauma. I had like a severe one. Some people have severe. a bit. That is something that is just, so when there's something scary that happens, it can just spark that in people and just kind of spreads like wildfire. And so that's kind of what I take from it. But I do think that like poker has an opportunity to maybe heal that in a way, and help bring some awareness and light to that. And that's kind of going to be my mission, to do that, and also to eventually become a coach and a healer, and to help people kind of perform at their highest level, because I've been so blessed and been able to do that, like with my coaches and my support and my family. So I want to pay that forward in both those ways.
That's awesome. Well, we got some rapid fire questions here to conclude if you're ready to go.
Sweet, yeah, let's go.
Let's talk about the best shot you ever took.
The best shot I ever took?
Or it could be the worst shot you ever took. A real bad decision with the bankroll.
Okay, I got you now. Well, I mean, I guess we can talk about the worst one. Like, it was after my win, my first win. It was a big one. I spun it up because I got into crypto Bitcoin. I spun it up, but then I decided to like trade it. I thought that I could outsmart the market. My ego got in the way, and I ended up, yeah, like I made like 400 or 500, like just buying and holding, and I ended up just dumping it, and then like an extra 50 or 100 on top of that. So that was my worst decision, worst beat. Like, you cannot.
Are you buying the dip now?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, you can't. Yeah, but I'm not gonna trade it. Like, you can't outsmart like the volatile swings in crypto. Like, it's unless you're a huge fund, and even some of those $1 billion funds got just completely liquidated. So, yeah. Tread carefully. Please learn from my mistakes. Tread carefully in crypto. Just like buy and hold. That's my recommendation. Yeah.
Do you have any artistic talents?
So I'm a classically trained violinist.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom put me in violin when I was 4.
That's an expensive instrument.
Yes. I was very blessed. Like, I love that I can still play. Like, I played it pretty much every week from 5 years old all the way up to like 15, 16. So I was concert master of a youth symphony when I was 10, and also of one when I was 16. And then at UF, I played in the symphony orchestra. I was like third, second violin. With every violin ahead of me was a music major. So I'm proud of like my ability to play like violin very well. And I would say that Yuri is and Glazer, Benny Glazer, they're both musicians. I think there's a lot of good poker players that are also musicians, and I think that ability has helped develop not like my creative side, my artistic side. Like, I have the logic and the math. I'm good at numbers, but I feel like my violin play has developed my creative side as well. So like, I'm very thankful that my mom put me in that, and my brothers. There's some time when I'm 12, 13 years old, I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I practicing this every day? But it's paid off.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember seeing a documentary about some inner city kids that got violins, but I guess the problem is that they have to be sized for the kid, right? So you need one every year, basically.
Yeah, it's like, I think my first violin was like a wooden one, because you learn just to hold it and to hold the bow, to hold the instrument. But then, yeah, every year it had to have been expensive to like get a new one, a new size. Yeah.
All right. So what was your worst job before poker?
I worked in Burger King when I was like 16 for like 3-4 months. It was pretty nasty. It was about as gross as you would think, like being in the back in the bowels of the kitchen, where like the floor is sticky and you're going through shoes, and you're gonna develop like a Whopper, addiction, because it's good. But yeah, that was probably my worst job.
Did you can you still eat there today?
can. I have, I still love the taste of it, but I try to avoid it. I try to eat healthy. Like that's part of my, my new meditation kick is to eat as healthy as I can. So
I know, but that is like a selling point though. If you were able to work there and still eat there.
exactly, free food, free lunch.
Yeah. What was your largest non-poker wager other than crypto?
Oh yeah, that is by far like other than that, I'm pretty proud that I'm not like I mean, I'm a huge degen in crypto, but I'm pretty proud that I haven't degened into like the sports betting streets or the craps or blackjack. I really I could honestly say that my biggest wager, I might have put down like 2 grand in a craps table once. Like so I've stayed away from
Hmm.
those streets.
Any prop bets?
I'm a fish in those. I try to avoid like I'm maybe like 2 for 20 in those. So I try to avoid that as much as I can. But
Biggest pot you've ever won or lost? Your choice.
um,
No, you said you got played what, 25, 50 PLO? Those pots
yeah,
can get
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
big.
yeah. There's some home games in South Florida where I had won and lost like 30 or 40K pots. Some pretty big home games. But yeah, you would think that maybe it would be bigger than like 40, 50K, but that's the biggest you know, cash game. I mean, pot that I won or lost, like in that range.
It's pretty damn big in my eyes. If you could download one skill instantly, like in the Matrix, what would you choose?
Huh, that's a good question. I mean, I think I would probably choose to like teleport and just because I love to travel, so it would be nice to just instantly be anywhere, in the world and just save the hassle of flying and that would be pretty cool just to visit whatever spot at any time.
Yeah, God, I hate planes. Just
Oh my God,
getting rid of that would
I'm
be
getting back
amazing.
pain and neck pain just thinking about them. Um,
Headphones on at the table, yes or no?
so I'm kind of like 50-50. I especially with like my meditation kick lately, I enjoy listening to like mainly soundtracks that kind of keep me focused or meditations or there's some parts in a tournament where I'll put on like some Skrillex or some heavy metal where I need to maybe amp up the aggression like coach.
Ah, okay.
I like to tune the music to like the stage in the tournament or to my mood. Like say I have to calm down, I'll put some meditative stuff, or say I have to, like I said, amp up the aggression, I'll put on some dubstep. It kind of depends on the stage of the tournament and my mood.
All right. Do you have a favorite artist or album?
I love Dead Mouse. I saw him live like a couple weeks ago. He still puts on a great show. So, Tiesto, like the classic EDM, and with my violin background, I also really enjoyed classical music, Vivaldi, Bach, and when like those two blend, like classic music and EDM, I'm just like, this is amazing. But I like, rock too. I like all the genres, but those are my favorite.
Who was your celebrity crush when you were growing up?
My celebrity crush when I was growing up, I don't know, like there's Lindsay Lohan, there's Hilary Duff. I would say my biggest one is Scarlett Johansson. She's unbelievable. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. Uh, but yeah,
Do you have a celebrity doppelganger, or did people tell you you look like somebody growing up?
um, I would say that I get Novak Djokovic a little bit. I get John from The Office a little bit. But what I do get a lot is a lot of people say that I sound like Esfandiari. Not don't look like him. Thank God. No, I'm kidding. But people say that like I sound like him, which I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
one
as the conversation has gone on, I'm hearing it for sure.
of so like
I
maybe one
could
day.
definitely hear it. Even the laugh is pretty similar.
Uh, good. Well, I hope that my play can reach his level. That'd be sweet. He's a freaking crusher.
No, he just goes and beats up on the celebrities in LA. He
I'll take that. I'll take that. Okay. But but yeah, so that's what I've gotten most of.
Are you superstitious at all?
I try not to be stupid stitious, but So I think in all my runs, I didn't change my underwear. so at the end of the day, yeah, maybe that's why I won, because people were smelling me and they're like, I gotta get out of this tournament, But
That's definitely a superstitious choice
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I try not to be, but it's gonna come out here and there for sure.
What about phobias?
Phobias, not really. I would say like maybe sometimes if I'm hiking and high up, I might look down and be like, whoa, maybe have a little fear of height, but not really too much.
Do you collect anything?
I like when I was younger, middle school, high school, I did collect Pokemon cards, and I still have them. Apparently, they're valuable now, so I gotta research that, see what I can get for them.
Man, get
Yeah,
on them while they're still up there.
exactly. I always did like to travel and collect coins and money from every country. But yeah, pretty much that.
What was your longest poker session?
I haven't really had, you hear about the 72 hours. I haven't really had anything super crazy. I would probably say maybe it just barely exceeded a day, but you know, I need my sleep. Like I said before, I'm a big believer in performance and recovery, so I love to get like my 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep. So, I would say
I mean,
maybe.
a day is a long time. I'm nowhere near that.
Yeah, it is still a long time, but I think that was probably in Vegas like 6, 7 years ago. But nowadays it's not going to be more than 10, 11 hours probably.
Do you use movie quotes on a regular basis?
No, I'm the worst with with movies, like quotes, like with memory around even actors' names, movies. Yeah.
Okay, I've
Only,
found that to be true of everybody in Miami.
oh, yeah.
Do you find that to be the case? Because my in-laws, all their like everyone I know down there, you ask them about what's out on TV or in movie theaters, and they have no clue. They don't know who's starring in it. They're just
You know, a
busy.
little bit. Yeah, like out here on the West Coast, in Vegas and LA, obviously it's all about Hollywood, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? But yeah, I think that's a good point. The Miami, we care about, we care about like going out dancing salsa, Pitbull. We don't give a shit about Hollywood or whatever's going on in LA. So maybe I think you have a point.
That's it. At least if you pull my in-laws, that's what's happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like from my family and friends from down there, yeah.
Biggest pet peeve at the table.
Biggest pet peeve at the table. I mean, I hate to sound like a grumpy old man, but like with like the stud variants, when people complain about being the bring in multiple times, like that kind of gets me. Like, come on, dude, it's all random. And also, well, the worst is I don't like it when people like kind of like are mean to the dealers, especially like because I was playing stud this year, and some older men were like berating the dealers, and even new players who would never play the game and were obviously running pure. But why are you berating people who have never played it? They're just playing a new game, and also like dealers who like barely ever deal this game. Like, are you crazy? So that really gets me upset, and I ended up probably just being a little bit outspoken and talking to them, and maybe being a little bit emotional myself. And I can't allow that to affect my game, obviously, but I think it does a little bit, sometimes.
No, you gotta stand up for the dealers for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
We end the podcast the same way every time with a question from the random question generator.
Sweet.
Okay. I lost my page. Hold on.
All good.
Okay. If you could change your name, what would you change it to?
I've always liked like Alejandro. I've always liked
Alejandro.
Yeah, Alex. Alejandro. For some reason I always liked that name. So if I were to change it, it'd be that. It's also interchangeable. Alex in the States and Alejandro in South America. So.
And in Miami.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There was that Lady Gaga song Alejandro.
Alejandro, right? Yeah.
We always ask this when people have two first names. Do people call you Ruben Bradley ever?
Oh my God, yeah, it happens a lot. Yes, yeah, especially in Miami. Like Ruben, cómo está, Ruben? I'm like, no, dude. But I sometimes I would prefer them to call me Ruben because they fuck up Brad. They say brat.
Brat.
They call me brat, and I'm like, how do you know I'm a brat? You don't even know me. But
It's
so
a different poker brat.
yeah, yeah, it's true. But yeah, I get Ruben a lot, especially in Florida.
Well, Ruben Bradley, it's been great having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for sharing the stories.
Hey man, it's been a pleasure, Julio. I appreciate your time, and I had a blast too.
That's it. That is the show. Thank you once again to Brad. You can find him on Twitter at Brad_Ruben_. That's Brad_Ruben_. And also help him support the Shields and Stripes initiative at shieldsandstripes.org. You can find us at Card Player Media or cardplayer.com. If you like the show, go ahead and make sure you are subscribed. And if you really like the show, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review. Let us know you went the extra mile by sending us an email to pokerstories@cardplayer.com, and we'll hook you up with a free digital subscription to Card Player magazine. Thanks for listening. By now, you've heard about Global Poker, one of the fastest growing online card rooms available in the US and Canada today. So what's stopping you from trying it out? Global Poker is a safe and secure social poker site that uses their own patented sweepstakes model. Signing up is easy. You can use Google, Facebook, or just an email address. You can always play for free on Global Poker, but you can also buy gold coins for additional play, which will earn sweeps coins that can be redeemed for real cash to a bank account, Skrill account, or even as a gift card. Get a free 5,000 gold coins when you sign up right now at globalpoker.com.